his unit for a deployment to Iraq. Colonel Gleichenhaus comes to us from Osan Air Base located in the Republic of South Korea, where he commands the 3rd Battlefield Coordination Detachment, otherwise known as the 3rd BCD for short. Prior to his current assignment, Colonel Gleichenhaus held numerous leadership assignments over various locations, all of which are listed in the program. However, a few of the highlights I'd like to say are: first was a platoon leader in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, battalion fire support officer at Camp Graves, Korea, standalone. Battery commander at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Field artillery major assignments officer, battalion and brigade operations officer in Afghanistan. Field artillery major assignments officer at Army Human Resources Command. Battalion commander in Hawaii and Iraq. Special assistant to the Chief of Staff of the Army located at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And of course his present assignment in Korea. All of our cadets and university guests will also find it interesting that Colonel Gleichenhaus began his stellar Army career here at the University of San Francisco, studying physical education and also participating in the Dons Army ROTC. He went to LDAC, or LTC, or whatever the acronym is now, his summer training at Fort Lewis, Washington in 1989, and then graduated from the University of San Francisco and commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the field artillery in 1990. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome home to Colonel Joe Gleichenhaus.
I'll just take a couple minutes of your time. I hope you guys won't remember this in a year. Maybe how I make you feel, but other than that, a couple of tributes or tips for you as you go off on your journey. In good military fashion, first of all, I want to say thanks to the university for hosting this and supporting Dons, ROTC, and the national anthem and invocation, as I expected from this fine Jesuit institution, was better than I've seen in much of my military career. So spectacular to you guys. Unbelievable. So Lieutenant Colonel retired David Vaney, or Lieutenant Colonel Doug Ballard, Miss Christine Wheeling, Miss Martha Pugh, Dr. Richard Stackham, Father Godfrey. You got lots of memories running through my head right now. All the fathers I've had here. Miss Cheryl Kane, other distinguished guests, sergeants, majors, senior non-commissioned officers, and the officers that are here, both active and retired, of course, my family. Thanks very much. It's special thanks to Sean Williams for bringing us out here. It really is unbelievable that it's been 25 years in my mind, but what a spectacular journey for you guys that you're about to embark on. A couple of you have asked about our time together with Sean Williams. It was Glory's Guns 141 Battalion at Fort Stewart, Georgia. He had the Young Guns platoon, which there was a Young Guns in the Dream Team, which was appropriately named for the spirit of each of them. The Dream Team was the kind of older guys, and they were all smooth. And the Young Guns were wild and just crazy kind of young sergeants that needed the leadership that was provided by then Lieutenant Williams. We called him RoboCop at the time, or Redfish, because 1626 quickly turned into Redfish, Bluefish. That was my call sign was Steel Six at the time. But what I'll tell you about that time was learning today that you have now moved into the Department of Management is interesting, because what the Army's going to talk to you about or train you, or what you've been trained to do, is about leadership. We don't call it management, we call it leadership, but it's a fine foundation to cast you into the realm that you're about to embark. And that time that I was with then Lieutenant Williams is what I've been trying to emulate for the rest of my career. It was an unbelievable command atmosphere of positive, motivated soldiers that were disciplined and did unbelievable things because of just the cohesion of the unit that was built by a bunch of young people, which you're about to go off and do. So at this time, I just want to focus primarily on these guys that are coming on, and you guys can enjoy as we go. But what I want to tell you all is welcome to the team. You're going to see, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but there's some new Army commercials, and the Army has spent a lot of money and time trying to promote themselves. Inside the Army, you don't really have to do that. We know what we are, we know who we are, but now welcome to the team. It's an institution, and it's not just a job, it's a whole lifestyle that you're embarking on. It's a professional arms. You probably learned about it, you guys probably had to teach it, it's probably part of the curriculum, but the professional arms is a lifestyle that is not just a job. It's 100% volunteer. Everybody in our military is a volunteer. It's less than 1% of the total population. It's kind of a cliche, but it's that cliche fact that we like to use out there. On that side, that population between the ages of 18 and 32, which come into our military, unremarkably, only 25% of those in that population are eligible to join the military. So you've already made an achievement, but now you're just rookies. So welcome to the team, rookies. And so the NCOs will appreciate it. You always got to wonder, or you got to take a step back when the lieutenant runs up to you and goes, "It's been my experience, sir. We ought to do this." You'll get a lot of experience. Lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain days, it's the best time ever in the Army. I am totally excited for you guys to enter into this part of your career. You are never as close to soldiers as you are when you're a lieutenant or a captain. You understand the generation that you're leading right there, because as you get older and older, hopefully you're smart enough to realize at some point you kind of are a little bit detached and you have to start learning from the younger guys what's really going down and why things are going on. You get to play or train with all the toys, and you get lots of toys. Every one of your MOSs, or the branches for those civilians that are out there, is we take a lot and we appreciate from our government, our population, you all that are sitting in our audience, to give us the resources to be overmatched against any enemy that's out there. Some of y'all won't be destroying or finding with, closing with, and destroying an enemy, but you will be taking care of the service, the profession of arms, all the rest of us, to enable us all to get there. That's all one team. And you're going to be given a whole bunch of stuff, and as a second lieutenant, you're going to get to play with all this stuff. So when you get there, you want to lead. You're going to be a PL, platoon command. No matter what you do, that's what you want to do in the Army. It's a people business. Wherever you get there, whoever your boss is, you say, "I am happy to be here, happy to be part of your organization." There's just one thing I want to do, and that's command. Whether it's a platoon, a company, a battery, a squadron, a battalion, a brigade, that's what you want to do is command. You want to be in charge of people. And whether they make you peel potatoes between now and the time you get to do that, so be it. Be a good potato peeler until you get to do that. Read and learn. So in the Jesuit background, and for my parents, they always say you got to read, read, read. So continue to read and experience and listen to those guys. They're going to show you how to do whatever it is that you're going to do. And they're sitting out here, some of them, those NCOs, the non-commissioned officers, the backbone of the Army that's out there that's going to help you get to where you want to get there. You don't have to be the best at everything, but you got to participate, because it takes everybody. We are a very small Army, and we're going down. We're shrinking. We're getting less. And there's a whole bunch that everybody out here is going to ask us to do. So you don't got to be the 300 guy. You don't got to be the expert on your weapon, but you ought to try. And when you're in charge and you're in command and you have the ability to do that, make sure that you remember that everybody out there isn't that superstar. As a matter of fact, I used to always say, nobody works for me, you only work with me. And we're all going to try to be the best that we can. I don't need the #1 top draft choice or the superstar, but I want a whole bunch of guys that are slightly above average, or at least trying to get to slightly above average. And with the collectiveness of that, I'll take on anybody, anytime, anywhere. No, not a doubt in my mind. But friendly, but you don't have to be friends with all your soldiers, because some of them are going to test you. And never fear that, another comment, kindness does not mean lack of discipline, which is what you're going to have to still enforce standards. So, and where do you get some of those? And it comes partly from this great institution as well. It comes from your parents, all those people that you mentioned out there that you're thanking for being in this position to become commissioned as second lieutenants. It's values. Another kind of cliche from the Army, but again, all these cliches I'm going to throw out, they ought to be at least known to you, but that's why they're cliches, is because after 25 years, you start learning that, hey, it's really true. That's how we are, that's how we act, that's what we do. Values. We're a values-based organization. And we got great national support for the organization right now. It's been earned over the fact that we have disciplined troops, soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, all the jointness, which has come together significantly more today than it has in a long time. But you got to continue to earn that support and the respect that's given to us by our population for being that value-based organization. And you can never compromise your values or those values. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. You guys know them. You should have them. The acronym is leadership. That's what the Army offers for you. There's many other ones out there. Again, I thank the University of San Francisco, great, fine Jesuit institution, which I've referenced many times over my past 25 years in the service of the education that I got here that bred some of those values and enabled me to learn a little bit deeper what each one of them means, and you'll have to define that for yourself as you go forward with your soldiers. You got them for your family as well. What those do, it enables you to build trust. It's not an Army value, but it's something that you have to create. Of your men and women, soldiers that you're going to lead, trust from your organization, trust of the guy that calls on you, trust on the guy that you call to potentially assist you, trust of your nation that you're going to get it done, and trust of your family. Which comes to priorities. So you're going to have to set your priorities. Another lesson I kind of learned or helped me develop more deeply came from a class. One fine father, I can't remember his name, I should have researched it, but he was the Jesuit institution to establish your individual spiritual identity. And you got to answer some questions. You start with one, and then the more questions you ask yourself, the more questions you answer, the deeper you'll understand yourself, and you'll know where you're going and your convictions. Faith, basis of that faith, how do you communicate to whoever it is if you believe, what is the nature of that, how do you educate your kids, what's going to be right, the difference between right and wrong, and you're going to have to do it for your soldiers as well. So I say individual spiritual identity is one. And I say it's not any particular one because you have to include everybody. And if you don't leave anybody out, which is another thing I learned from the Jesuits, that everybody's included in tolerance, that the one guy that is the one guy in your organization, no matter how big you are, if he knows he's not left behind, that's very powerful because now everybody knows that you will never leave anyone behind. So that's one of our mottos. And again, those NCOs know it's more than just a motto. It's something that you instill, right? It's a creed that's supposed to drive your lifestyle. So the other priorities, spiritual, family, are my top two, then country, and then Army's number 4. So I put Army 4, and I try to put that out to people all the time because the Army's going to challenge your priorities. As a matter of fact, soldiers are going to challenge your values. And no matter where you go, the mission you get that the nation asks us to do and sends you out to these places, as a matter of fact, listen to some of your assignments where you're going to start going to challenge your desire to remain in the Army. They're really God's country out there, some of it. But we're shrinking. Our numbers are shrinking, and we're being asked to do more, or be ready to do more, and you're going to learn, you're going to be asked to do a lot, because you're going to be second lieutenants. You're going to have a couple guys. It's going to be really cool. You don't have to go find a job. You got a job. You're not going to have to go earn a leadership position. You're going to get it right away. What other institution does that? Automatically. Show up first day, boom, there's your platoon sergeant, and there's your 30 guys. Don't let anything happen to them. You're responsible for everything. And we're going to go get it done. We're going to go, Roger. Then you're going to turn around and ask me, what the heck are we supposed to do? It's all good. Trust your values. Be positive. There are no problems, only solutions waiting to be found. And the first thing you got to do is find the right problem. Make sure you find that right problem before you go trying to implement some solution. And you'll screw that up a couple of times, and that's okay. If it's underwritten, and when you're in the ability, you have the ability to underwrite the mistakes, the honest mistakes of the good soldiers that you have, that's going to make you better. Because then you'll learn from it, and then hopefully it's not just a lesson, but it's a lesson learned. So we got a lot of problems because we're moving so fast these days, and we learn a whole bunch of lessons, but sometimes they're just lessons, not lessons learned. So that's why I say not only do you got to read, right? Somebody told me that once. But you gotta write as well. So I'm gonna offer it to you. Somebody told me to do it a long time ago, the journal. I know it's big here as well to learn, but if you don't write, you may or may not remember. And if nothing else, you can have a whole bunch of books at the end of the day. You can come back and reflect and recollect what you'll do, because you'll forget more as you go. You'll have those big memories, lots of them. Because, I mean, man, you're in a great institution, going in a great endeavor, a great job. You are going to love it. You are going to love it. Getting into a very interesting time. It's a very interesting time. So we've been in combat for 15 years. We still got people in harm's way in Afghanistan and Iraq. We got people all over Africa. Some could call or not call North Korea, South Korea, where I live, a threat or not. It's not Kansas, I'll tell you that. North Korea is on the other side. I've been there a number of times. I wave at the North Koreans. They don't always wave back. They look, though. They're always dressed the same. They look hungry. We've regionally aligned. We got forces that are now experts in all these different regions, all over the world. We've transformed the Army. It's something that we see it as realigned or alignment, regional alignment of force, and experts in transformation. You guys don't. You're going to enter right into it. It's going to become the normal for you. We have pushed so much down to the company and platoon level, the things that you'll be able to do as lieutenants and captains is stuff that we only hope to do as battalions and brigades in our day. That stuff is all at your fingertips now. It's awesome. And it's awesome responsibility, and you owe it to all these people that are sitting out here to do the best you can and know how to use it or support it wherever you're at, because there's a lot of threats. So I'll throw some out there so we don't forget, or maybe some here don't always realize what a very small military force, and I know we have some Navy out here, but we have become much, much, much more purple these days than we ever have before with all sorts of CENTCOM, ISIS, Afghanistan, Iraq, still raging. A lot of big problem over there, complex. In Europe, Russia, the terrorists all over the Middle East, big problem. African, Boko Haram, nightmares. Terrorists, civil unrest all over the place. We're just trying to help, or just trying to carry supplies, or expertise. PACOM, all over the Pacific, North Korea, China, South China Sea, territorial disputes of all the countries, everybody's claiming there. I mean, America does not appreciate it if you haven't really looked at it, the nightmare and the passion that those countries have for all the things that they believe are theirs, or the lifestyle that they believe should be the way of the world in their particular region. Southcom, drugs, the cartels, crime. It has a direct influence on our southern border. It has direct influence all over our country and our kids, our youth, and everyone. NORTHCOM, threats internal to the United States within our own borders. I was coming out of Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and I was worried that, hey, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm telling you right now, don't worry, you're going to get your chance. Don't worry, you're going to get your chance. As a matter of fact, it's not quite that exciting when you get there. And I remember one time, it's like, we always want to go to combat, but it'd be really neat if we could just go for like 2 weeks. I just want to know if I got what it takes to make it and lead properly and then go home afterwards and everything can go back to normal, because it's not really a very nice place to be. And you're going to be challenged with the complex decisions or influencing or providing the research or being part of the solution that's out there. And it might just be in the form of research. So again, part of the institution which you got to take with you. This ain't school anymore. School's done. Now you get the rest of your life to work, and you're starting here, and it's a pretty good place to start. You're coming into a really cool time with a very interesting set. It won't be easy. You're going to be challenged. Combat veterans out there, they're not all good. And some of them are going to tell you that you're not so good because you haven't been there. Although one of y'all has been there for quite some time, that's good. But it doesn't make you better or worse than any other guy. There's no fault to you for where you come from to where you're going to get to. If you come in and you enforce your standards and you have values and you treat your soldiers with dignity and respect and you build your team, then you will be respected. And that will make you good. That guy that tells you, no, that's not the way it is, and thinks that he's better for that one particular reason, well, that's called a counseling statement. You tell him, hey, well, you check him out. And if he's any good, then you tell him he's good, but he's arrogant. You tell him to go sit down. Or if he's good, you tell him he's good, and he's not. Tell him, hey, you can help the team by sharing all these experiences because of all the experience you have. And we need, which you're going to need. Senior NCOs and officers. Lieutenants don't get to do, well, you get to do a whole bunch, but you don't get to make it up. You'll have your opportunity to say, this is what we're going to do. You're in charge. But you're going to be told what to do. You're going to be given that mission by somebody else. Some senior NCOs, and the NCOs will help you out with this, will think that because they've been around for a little bit longer, they're going to teach you. Well, they are going to teach you a whole bunch of stuff, but you are responsible, and you will be responsible for everything that occurs or doesn't occur, and the captain will remind you of that if you fail to do it, but he'll also reward you for that and remind you of that when you do very well. The only reason I'm standing here is because along the way I had guys like your boss right now, Sean Williams, that brought me all there, and that's what we all believed at that time. We all had a role and responsibility. Everybody had a role. Everybody has a responsibility. You just got to know who has how many votes. But if you listen to everybody and they all truly believe that they have a vote, you will go much farther because another cliche, right? 2 brains are better than 1, 2 minds are better than 1. The collective movement of the whole is better than the individual. It's true. I guarantee it. When I entered, like I said, it was the Cold War. All we did was train. You guys are going forward into a period of time we're going to do a lot of good training. Take all of that because it will make us much better, much, much, much better when you arrive there. There's not one guy that doesn't say, in whatever dicey situation he's been in, that it didn't come back to his training that reminded him what to do when he got there. And all of a sudden, it just became second nature. Not one dicey situation that anybody's in that I ever asked them, well, how did you know what to do? And they said, our training got us there, so just remember that. And went fully to our nation over the last 15 years, better equipped, better trained, better brought in. We are learning from all of you as well. The Army does not just go into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force and Marines, everybody. We go back out to our institutions, and we're learning from all of society right now, taking best practices so that we can bring it out there to wherever it is we're going, so that we can help employ it when it's needed. Hopefully, more would listen to the experiences of some of these young guys and some of the young soldiers that had a hard time in Afghanistan and Iraq learning about how to build build a city, build a town, build a village, whatever it is. I think all those guys are better citizens today because they've learned what it takes to actually do that. And oh, by the way, that whole time that I spent just training up, when we finally went to war, wasn't anything we had trained for. It wasn't rolling around the deserts in tanks with big, massive formations. It wasn't jumping out of airplanes and seizing airfields. Well, we did that a couple times, but not in the sense that we thought we were when we were training for it. We went in and you're looking at kids and leaders and talking to village elders and having diverse populations that you have to engage with as lieutenants and captains and majors. Pretty significant, serious people that are having significant impact in the location that they are at that time, with a whole bunch of money that you all that are sitting in this audience have given to us and empowered to us to spend on your behalf so that we can help accomplish the mission you all asked us to do. That's what you guys are going to do. You'll get your chance. Remember, participate, stay motivated, include everybody in your team, make sure the policies include them as well. Second lieutenant is awesome. I absolutely congratulate you all for making it through. I can tell you, I was not always the best student, and I've heard that a number of times from a whole bunch of senior leaders in the Army, but I became a much better soldier for listening. There's two things I'd say to memorize that you want to take with you. One is the re-enlistment oath, because if some soldier asks you to re-enlist them, when you stand up there and raise your right hand, you ask them to raise their right hand, you're standing in front of the flag, and they're going to sign on for another tour, say it verbatim. Don't read from a card. Memorize the re-enlistment oath. It is something that we live by. It's not just something you learn to get through a board, get promoted to the next level. It should be ingrained inside of you. The other thing is you don't got to learn the whole creed of the NCO. You just have to learn the first line of each stanza of the NCO creed. Because you got NCOs down there, and they're going to work for you. Some of them will try to trip you up, but most of them, 95% of them, are going to really make you shine together. And you got to make them shine as well. And the soldiers are going to make it happen for you as well. But first sentence of each stanza of the NCO creed. N, no one is more professional than I am, a non-commissioned officer, backbone in the Army. C, competence is my watchword. O, officers in my unit will have maximum time to accomplish their mission. They will not have to accomplish mine. Cool. Now, the more you know about that, the better you'll understand what the NCOs can do for you and ought to do for you. And it's twofold. One, how you can hold them to that standard and what they ought to do, because it ought to be ingrained in them. But also, so you can know how to best leverage them so that you can move your organization in a direction that you want to go. It will be unbelievable. The last, everybody wants to be successful. But right now, you're going in the best time of your life. Second lieutenant, first lieutenant, playing with all the toys, as close to soldiers as you'll ever be. You'll get all kinds of resources thrown at you. Everybody's working for you. Division of brigade commanders say, I'll have a good unit if I have great platoons. That's you guys, platoon commanders. Everybody's trying to make you guys successful. Don't worry about getting forward. Just be worried about being qualified in your field right now. So we used to say, just be branch qualified. Now it's key developmental jobs. Don't worry about being branch qualified. Be worried about being qualified in your branch. And you got to read about it. You got to listen to your subordinates and your superiors. You got to write it down so you don't forget about it. And you just got to enjoy it. Because one of y'all will be back up there, I imagine, in 25 years. It's always a small crowd. I was here with 11. It was my commissioning class is 11. 2 of us are brigade commanders right now. I thank God that you picked me instead of him for this year. You can get him next year. Pete Minaldo, though, he was a great guy, and I appreciate the institution. So it's a great ride. Again, I congratulate you to the university. I absolutely appreciate you guys setting this up and making it as special as it is, because it is a special occasion. There's only a few things you do a few times in your life. Graduating from college is one of them. Getting commissioned is another one. And speaking at it is another one as well. So I thank you very much. Congratulations to you guys, and I appreciate you guys spending a little time to listen to me for a minute. So,